The United States is losing the race for tech. Whenever the subject of technology comes up, the only name that always pops up is Silicon Valley, a region located in the United States. Despite this, many people just don't realize that America is slowly losing its title of being at the top of the tech world. Yes, it is a fact. Want to know who is beating US? Well then watch this video till the end to know more about this. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Voltage. We are here to acknowledge you with all the latest high-voltage car updates and their features from top to bottom, and also give you a brief analogy of them. So hurry up and subscribe to the channel and smash that notification bell not to miss any of our updates. With that being stated, let's jump into it. In just the last few years, Europe has implemented sweeping laws on online privacy. It has passed regulations to limit tech giants' dominance, and most recently, they agreed on new legislation to protect its citizens from harmful online content. So, if you're keeping score, that's 3 for Europe, 0 for the United States. There is no doubt that the United States gave birth to the iPhone, and the world's most widely used search engine and social media network. And it may also be responsible for bringing the world into the so-called metaverse. And in fact, it is indeed true that global leadership in technology regulation is taking place more than 3,500 miles away from Washington. From European leaders representing 27 nations with 24 languages, who have nevertheless been able to agree on basic online protections for their 450 million or so citizens. As of now, Congress in the United States has not passed a single comprehensive piece of legislation to protect internet consumers and rein in the power of the country's technology giants. And the reason for this is not a lack of effort on our part. But for over 25 years, hundreds of federal privacy bills have been introduced and then eventually dropped without bipartisan support. Every time there is a major hack of a bank or retailer, lawmakers introduce data breach and security legislation. But all these bills have withered on the vine. Several speech bills have lost their way in the quicksand of partisan disagreement over freedom of expression of the press. Moreover, the antitrust bill, aimed at curtailing the power of technology giants such as Apple, Amazon, Google, and Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, is in limbo as a result of intense lobbying. In fact, it is estimated that in the past 25 years, just 2 narrow federal laws have been enacted concerning technology, and one of them is relating to children's privacy, and the other is relating to the eradication of sex trafficking content on websites. Jeffrey Chester, who is the executive director of the Center for Digital Democracy, basically it is a public interest group, said that the inertia is too kind of a word to describe what's happened in the United States. There's been a lack of will, courage, and understanding of the problem and technologies, and consumers are left with no protections here and lots of confusion. There is no guarantee that any legislation will be passed before the end of the year, but due to the way technology touches so many aspects of our lives, regulations will almost certainly be passed at some point in the future. It has been widely suggested that of all the proposals currently before Congress, an antitrust bill that would bar Apple, Alphabet, and Amazon from boosting their own products on their marketplaces and app stores over those of their rivals has the best chance of passing. Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat from Minnesota who is a co-author of the bill, said Democratic leaders had promised that it would be put to a vote this summer. In spite of the bipartisan support for this bill, the legislation still faces a steep uphill climb against so many other priorities in Congress, and a fierce lobbying effort by the tech industry to derail it. And as history suggests, the road to US tech regulation may not be an easy one. A decade of public outrage was needed for the Interstate Commerce Commission to be created in 1887 to act as a regulator for the railroads. Since the first medical reports on the dangers of smoking were published, it has taken nearly 50 years before tobacco was regulated. As a matter of fact, there are not just 1 or 2 reasons for the lack of progress in Congress. There presently are no proposals on the table because of the age-old partisan divide over how to protect consumers and also encourage business growth at the same time. And on top of that, there are hundreds of lobbyists from the technology industry who block legislation that could limit their profits. In addition, lawmakers have at times failed to understand the technological innovations they are trying to regulate, resulting in internet memes out of their public foibles. Tom Wheeler, a former chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, said that some tech companies have taken advantage of the knowledge blind spot they are creating. He stated, "It's what I call the big con, where the tech companies spin a story that they are doing magic and that if Washington touches their companies with regulations, they'll be responsible for breaking that magic. Since there is no federal regulation, states have instead developed their own patchwork of tech regulations to deal with the problem. And among the states that have adopted privacy laws are California, Virginia, Utah, Colorado, and Washington. Interestingly, both Florida and Texas have passed laws with the intent of penalizing internet platforms that censor conservative views on social media. It was reported that Amazon, Alphabet, Apple, Meta, and Microsoft all supported federal regulations. In fact, when some of them have been pressed, they have fought in favor of the most permissive versions of the bills that are under consideration. Meta, for example, has called for weaker privacy legislation at the federal level that would be able to override stronger laws at the state level. Now that Ms. Klobuchar and Senate Republican Charles E. Grassley of Iowa threatened to introduce an antitrust bill, tech's lobbying power is on full display in Washington. A number of votes were cast in support of the proposal in January, much to the surprise of the tech industry. Due to these fears, many tech companies mobilized a comprehensive lobbying and marketing campaign to defeat the bill. It is also worth noting that through a trade group, Amazon claimed in television and newspaper advertisements that the bill would effectively end its Prime membership program. Google's top legal officer, Kent Walker, wrote in a blog post that the new legislation would break popular products, preventing the search giant from displaying Google Maps in search results. According to Klobuchar, the company's claims are hyperbolic. She warns that tech companies might choose the worst path possible if they choose to fight against the proposal. Ms. Klobuchar said, "They are letting Europe set the agenda on internet regulation. At least we listened to everyone's concerns and modified our bill." There may be a sense that inaction is surprising given that both Republicans and Democrats are supposedly in agreement over how tech companies have evolved into global powerhouses. Senator Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi, said that the consumers need confidence that their data is being protected, and businesses need to know they can keep innovating while complying with a strong, workable national privacy standard. He added that the US cannot afford to cede leadership on this issue. Many of the top executives in the tech sector, including Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Tim Cook of Apple, Sundar Pichai of Google, and Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, have also been forced to testify before Congress multiple times in recent years. In fact, there have been some televised hearings in which lawmakers from both parties have told the executives that while their companies have a combined market value of $6.4 trillion, they aren't above government or public accountability. John Kennedy, a Republican senator from Louisiana, said some of these companies are more like countries than companies. He added that they are killing fields for the truth. There has been a lot of talks, but so far it hasn't translated into new legislation. So it is clear that the path to privacy regulations provides the clearest case study of that inaction record. Senator Edward J. Markey, a Democratic senator from Massachusetts, has introduced a dozen privacy bills, including those dealing with internet service providers, drones, and third-party data brokers since 1995. As part of the General Data Protection Regulation that took effect in 2018, he proposed a bill that would require consumers' permission to share or sell their data. Besides that, Mr. Markey has twice attempted to update and strengthen the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which he enacted in 1998, in order to prevent the misuse of personal data by youths. As part of every effort, industry lobbying groups have decried the bills as being detrimental to innovation. Several Republican lawmakers have criticized the proposals, saying that they don't balance the needs of businesses and consumers. Mr. Markey said that big tech sees data as dollar signs, so for decades they've bankrolled industry lobbyists to help them evade accountability. We've reached a breaking point. So yeah, as time passes, privacy has become a great source of money making for many people. This is the reason why billionaires are becoming millionaires, and middle-class people are still middle-class people. Anyway, what do you think about this? Tell us in the comments. Having said that, we have reached the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If yes, don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, and it's high time for you to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to get all the updates on our works. See you soon. Until then, peace.